Hello, welcome, beautiful souls. Thanks so much for tuning in. Once again, I am Miss Oracle with the Matrix Study Hall. Get in here, get yourself comfortable. All right, let's go ahead and get into this article. This one is from the Hollywood Report. The author of the article is Karen James. And let's go ahead and get into it. It says Baby Doe Review and Jaw-Dropping Doc. Woman who gave birth and left baby in the woods tells her story. So let's go ahead and read it a bit. It is the kind of story that can make headlines and quickly disappear. A young woman gives birth in a restroom and disposes of the newborn, having denied to herself that she was pregnant. Baby Doe turns one of those stories into an empathetic film that plays like a true crime doc, in which the question is not who did, but why. All right, it says it ends review. A road trip takes a dark turn in a well-crafted, if repetitive, indie thriller. So it says in 93, Gail Ritchie was 22, living in a rural, conservative area of Ohio when she gave birth and left her child, which she later said was stillborn, in the woods. The body was quickly found, but it wasn't until 2019 that DNA identified Ritchie as the mother. She was then charged with murder. Director Jessica Earnshaw met her 2 years later and has created a taunt film full of startling moments, many from Ritchie herself and some from police, a video and news report. Earnshaw's first reaction feature was the highly praised Jacinta in 2020, a close look at the woman grappling with incarceration, addiction, and the attempt to rebuild her life. A similar firsthand approach shapes Baby Doe. Okay, it also goes into the film constantly fantasizing as it argues for compassion and understanding rather than a harsh judgment about an unthinkable crime. Let's read a little more. It says Baby Doe is definitely a work of advocacy, and her strategy of letting Ritchie and the people who judge her speak for themselves is largely effective. The biggest surprise of the film is Ritchie herself, now married to the father of the child she left in the woods. Interesting. With whom she has 3 grown children. She is a soft-spoken, church-going, middle-aged woman, first seen holding her baby grandchild while playing a board game with her family. The most jaw-dropping moment early in the film shows a police video of Ritchie's arrest as she stands in her driveway. When the police ask if she knows why they were there, she calmly answered, "A baby that was left." The passive voice, both chilling in its detachment and convincing in its guilelessness, and sincerity, y'all. Stay with me. It says, video from the interrogation room is even more head-spinning. After she had acknowledged leaving the child, the police investigator asks, "How many other times has this happened?" She says one other time, 2 years before. Wow. So Earnshaw's obtrusive style lets that sit, followed simply by a text that says the body of the first child was never found, that Ritchie told the police she remembered no noise or movement before either baby, and that because only one body was found, she was charged with a single murder. All right, let's go a little bit further down. And it says that the most telling and convincing segment between Ritchie and her lawyers is a conversation. Her conversations are always suspect, as were obviously seen only when the lawyers chose to reveal. And it also says, but their questions to Ritchie are astute, and her responses make it clear that she was in denial about her pregnancy, and to some extent it seemed detached from it even as she goes through trial. Okay, let's go a little bit further. It says Ritchie is now incarcerated. She's in prison, and we see the judge as he hands down a mandatory life sentence. He calls her behavior monstrous while acknowledging the solid, respectable life she has lived. And it says, I cannot rationalize these two, Gail Ritchie's. Maybe he meant to say reconcile, but rationalize is very much to the film's point. What Ritchie did is beyond reason, coming from a deep psychological problem that a sharp emotional documentary exposes. So with having said that, now we're in this time period where Roe versus Wade has been, eliminated. And so with a lot of things that are being put out there, they're taking away a lot of the abortion rights. And so is this going to be something that is going to be more common? Because for them to try to spin this whole narrative, because again, she said this happened twice. This was the second time this happened. The first one wasn't found. But for them to put this out here, this type of narrative that, you know, this was something out of character to try to make an appeal for her, I got a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be something that is happening more and more because, a lot of people, they're not wanting to have children at all. And so if they have this type of mindset, and again, if you think about even when it came to things that happened in the antebellum South or in slavery in general, was that women of this demographic was allowed to do these things and nothing happened to them. And in fact, they were allowed to unalive melanated babies, and there were laws that protected them. And so we're going to more than likely begin to hear more and more stories similar to this. And I don't know, although she served time, is serving time, I think there's not going to be a lot of these people that are actually going to be serving time. I really feel like even with them putting out, they keep trying to allude to like the mentality of her during that time. There's going to be more than likely a lot of people that are going to be using that as a form of defense against these sort of behaviors. So, this is just definitely a sign of the times. All right, y'all. I'll see you here again next time. Bye bye.